expect that from a RAV4. That is a GR badge, and it's the same one you're going to find on the GR86 and the Supra. And when Toyota last slapped it onto another vehicle, the Corolla, the results were excellent. But that is a small hatchback, this is an SUV, so there is no telling what could happen. A fun RAV4, what is this world coming to? We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us. The standard RAV4 starts at around $33,000, but this isn't just any standard RAV4 because instead of a hybrid, it is a plug-in hybrid. And that means you're going to get a much bigger battery, more powerful electric motors, and of course, a plug. And that means that you're gonna get some upfront electric mileage in addition to some extra speed, and all of that sounds great, but it's gonna cost you. The plug-in versions of the RAV4 start at just under 43 grand. But the hopped up GR Sport, the most expensive trim, pushes that all the way up to nearly $50,000. And that's a lot of money for a non-luxury compact SUV. But as always, what you'll actually pay depends on the dealers in your area. We've got tools on our site to tell you what you should pay. We'll drop a link in the description, or you can scan the QR code. The RAV4 GR Sport jumps off the line eagerly with its combination of gas and electric power. It ripped from 0 to 60 miles an hour in just 5.6 seconds, on its way to a quarter-mile time of 14 seconds flat. That's a very, very quick time for a compact SUV, and it even beats the last generation RAV4 Prime by a few tenths. What about another plug-in like the Hyundai Tucson PHEV? It beats that thing by 2 full seconds. But this is a GR, so what about some other performance cars? Well, it's quicker than both the Volkswagen GTI and the automatic version of Toyota's own GR Corolla. We also set out to find out the RAV4 GR Sport's 0 to 60 time when it's in all-electric mode. And though at 8.8 seconds it is much slower, our test driver praised how responsive the SUV felt on battery power alone. There's enough guts to easily get on the highway and around town. It feels quick, up to 30 miles an hour or so. The GR Sport's braking numbers were less impressive, but still not bad. It goes from 60 miles an hour to a dead stop in 118 feet, and while there's plenty of nosedive, it still tracks straight and maintains good control in panic stops. That number is 9 feet better than the standard RAV4, a difference that we'd attribute to the stickier summer tire on this vehicle, but it leaves the Toyota roughly tied with the Tucson PHEV. The performance hatchbacks, they do perform much better in this test. This is where their smaller form factor and lower weight start to make a difference. This test is where we expected more from the GR Sport, but it didn't deliver, with a skid pad result of just 0.87 G. And getting that number was a challenge. Our test driver reported overactive stability control that would constantly cut power, and unfortunately, it can't be turned all the way off. Compared to the other compact SUVs, this number looks better as it beats the regular RAV4 and ties the Tucson. But once we bring in those hatchbacks, it's no contest. They trounced the RAV4 pretty badly in this exercise. And finally, as a bonus test, we figured that it'd be important to find out the RAV4 plugin's electric range. I hooked up all the same instruments we use for our full EV range test and tried to go for the same parameters, a 60-40 city highway split with an average speed of around 40 miles an hour. The new RAV4 plug-in has more range than the last generation RAV4 Prime thanks to its new battery, which offers about 25% more capacity. But the GR Sport, it still surprised us, covering 58 miles, which is well past its EPA estimated 48 miles of range. That means that the other RAV4 plug-in trims should go even further since they're all rated slightly higher. Now, there is one catch with the GR Sport, and that's related to charging speed, but we'll circle back to that later on. That's all the numbers we got, so now it's time to get to know this thing a little better before getting behind the wheel. You might hear the letters GR and think of something like the GR Corolla or that forthcoming GR GT, which is oh so sexy. Now those are outright performance cars, and that's not quite what this is. This is a GR Sport. Think of Hyundai's N-Line cars. They have their N cars, which are awesome, and then their N-Line cars, which are just kind of dressed up a little bit, things like the N-Line Kona. And that is more of what this RAV4 is. That's why you're not going to be getting all of the things on your performance wish list. Yes, this has updated dampers up front that are stiffer, a reinforced rear suspension, summer tires, it rides half an inch lower than the other RAV4s, and revised steering that's supposed to be a bit quicker. But what you aren't getting are better brakes. Yes, the calipers are painted red, but they're the same size and have the same stopping power as on the standard RAV4. You're also not getting anything like an adaptive suspension, and you're not getting any extra power compared to the other plug-in models, though that itself isn't really disqualifying because more and more performance cars are coming with a plug, even something like the BMW M5. So while this thing might look the part with its big rear spoiler and stuck out front lip that shows that it means business, we've got to take it onto the track to find out if this thing is more show or if it has any go at all. All right, here we go. Oh, don't expect that from a RAV4. All right, coming down the front straight. This thing does have pretty good pickup in a straight line, as its 0 to 60 time would suggest. This is actually the quickest Toyota in their lineup now with an automatic transmission since the Supra is being retired. So it's a fun feather in the cap for the RAV4. Hard braking zone. Oh, turn in. Oh, so I've shut off the traction control as much as I can, but you can't turn it completely off. And it is fairly invasive. Around these turns like this, especially the low speed ones, where you're really trying to put power down on exit, I can feel it cutting out on me, especially in that rear electric motor. Just won't let you really kind of slide around and have a good time at all. There we go. Oh, turn in, please. Oh, there we go. Down to the carousel before the big straight. Really important here to get a good exit, try to put power down. And here we go, full throttle, and yeah, it's just cutting power on me. I actually had more speed at the end of this straight when I did it from a straight, just a dead stop launch than there, because it just really doesn't let you put power down on exits. It's just very intrusive traction control. You know, we know that Toyota knows how to do good steering. They do it in the Corolla, they do it in the GR86 too, but this thing, the steering wheel is just absolutely numb. There's like no feedback at all. And that's really not what you want in a vehicle like this that does tend to understeer quite a bit. You just don't really have that sort of initial bite when you move it off center. And then when you do, and you're trying to kind of know what the front wheels are doing as the nose starts to push, just absolutely nothing. Oh, these tires are howling around like every corner. Yeah, it's got summer tires, but they don't really feel like they have a ton of grip. And all that vagueness combined with the amount of body roll that you're getting, it just makes for an underwhelming experience. This thing could really benefit from some sort of adaptive suspension setup. I get why they tuned it this way, because this thing still does need to be comfortable on the street, and it is. I would just say that it's maybe a hair stiffer than what you're getting out of the regular RAV4s. But when you're out here, or if you're on like a canyon road or something, oh, it's like way leany. There's just too much body roll, and it has trouble controlling it. And when it rebounds too, the nose gets upset. It's almost like it needs two settings. So you need an even stiffer one for out here and a more comfortable one for day-to-day use. But again, an adaptive suspension, those things are expensive to put in, and this thing is already expensive. Now, as we mentioned, the brakes, not any different, just painted red. Doesn't seem to help the stopping power too much. The braking distance in our testing was not too bad, but out here, again, just more bite would really help. There goes the nose washing out. Turn it. Oh, very unhappy car. Ultimately, the best thing about this SUV when you're driving it, it is that acceleration. It is how punchy it feels, especially when you're driving around town with the electric motors helping out. But out here, when you're trying to drive it aggressively, it does kind of fall on its face almost immediately. And that's not to say that it's a terrible vehicle to drive. I think, you know, just like the other RAV4s, totally fine. But if you're putting a GR badge onto something, this is not going to be satisfying in the way that any of the other GR cars are, especially that Corolla. When you have that Corolla out here, it's just an absolute ball from behind the wheel. And this thing, it's not that. I'm gonna slow down for a second and put it into its EV mode, actually. And this is, I think, one of the big selling points of this vehicle. The electric motors are strong enough that you can actually easily get up to highway speeds on electric power alone. So on our Excel straight, we actually got it up to close to 90 miles an hour just on EV power. Now, the 0 to 60 time isn't great when you're doing that. It's around 8.8, 8.9 seconds. But from 0 to 30 miles an hour, it feels really substantial. So for getting around town, the electric motors are going to offer you plenty of juice, and you can even get on the highway with it. When I did that range test, a bunch of that was at highway speed, and I got up to those speeds easily using just the electric motors. And the same, of course, has all of Toyota's latest driver aids, and they work quite well. This generation of RAV4 improved those things. They all work pretty seamlessly, and that standard integrated dash cam, that's a great safety feature to have along. So if Toyota's goal was to make a RAV4 that doesn't drive like a RAV4, this isn't it, and I don't think that it really will fill the hot hatch size hole in your heart at all. But let's check out how it does with more practical considerations. We're familiar with this cabin because recently we compared a standard hybrid RAV4 against a pair of its closest competitors. So I'm going to cover the highs and lows of this interior, but if you want a deeper dive, check out that video or head over to Edmunds. That's where we've got our full rankings and reviews, and those are places where we can nerd out on all the tiny little details. Now the GR Sport, it does get slightly different front seats, and I actually prefer these to the standard seats. They've got a bit more bolstering, so you get a bit more support whether you're driving around every day or on the track. And these faux suede inserts, they feel pretty great too. And you're also getting seat heating, but not ventilation. And that is something that I actually would have expected given this car's price tag. And that is going to be a theme with this vehicle. There are also a few other GR specific touches throughout this cabin, like the red stitching you're gonna find on the upholstery, the aluminum pedals, and these GR logos that are kind of all over the place, just in case you forget what you bought. The thing that this cabin does best for me is small item storage. There's a big shelf here in front of the passenger, 2 shelves down here below the screen, and a pretty good sized center console bin with one trick up its sleeve. You can actually take off the lid here and flip it over, and this side is hard plastic. So if you're going to eat in the car and you don't want to get things dirty, this is going to be much easier to clean than the upholstery. And with the GR Sport, you are getting the larger of the 2 touchscreens. So this is a 12.9-inch screen flanked by a 12.3-inch instrument cluster display that comes standard. Now, of course, you're getting wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay on every RAV4, but the cool thing is you can mirror the map directions you're getting from those smartphone systems onto this screen here so that you can use the screen for something else while you're driving and still know where you're going. And the other RAV4 technology feature that I really like, it's got a standard integrated dash cam, a feature that many consumers really want. Now the back seat of the RAV4, it is a bit smaller than the ones you're going to get in competitors like the Honda CR-V or the Kia Sportage, but even if you're an adult who's over 6 feet tall, there should still be plenty of room, and it's easy to fit a car seat back there as well. And you're also getting air vents and USB ports, all the stuff you need. With the plug-in, you are going to get slightly less cargo room than you are with the standard RAV4. It's down about 4 cubic feet, but as you can see, there's still plenty of room for luggage. So this is a great car for a road trip, even if the load-in height is just a touch higher. Now, one thing to note, if you go for the GR Sport version of the RAV4, you're not going to be able to tow at all. This one's actually not recommended for towing. The other plug-in hybrid trims, they can tow up to 3,500 pounds, and that matches what you're getting with the standard hybrid. Before we wrap things up, we just want to say if you've been enjoying our videos and find them helpful, a like and subscribe is the best way to show your support so we can keep making more of them. And if you have any questions about this RAV4 GR Sport or an idea about what we should fully test next, let us know in the comments below. We do read them all. So to answer our original question, can this vehicle fulfill both the fun and practical needs for a family? Well, it's certainly practical, but is it fun? Unfortunately not. From behind the wheel, this thing feels more like a RAV4 with a body kit than a performance version of the SUV. If Toyota really wanted this to live up to this GR badge that it has on the front, they would need to go even further. It needs better brakes, it needs a more aggressive suspension, it needs to have actual handling chops, because otherwise it's pretty good in a straight line and pretty good at nothing else. And compounding things, this isn't even the plug-in that I would recommend that most people buy, because it's missing some very key features that you can find on the RAV4 plug-in if you go up or down a trim level. So inside, it's got 15-watt USB-C charging ports up front, but both the XSC and the Woodland, they've got 45-watt charging ports. And speaking of charging, the biggest difference is going to be this only has level 2 charging, but those other two trims, they're going to offer you DC fast charging capability, which means you're going to be able to juice up this battery about 4 times faster, which is important because Toyota took out the charging mode in this version of the plug-in hybrid. All in all, the GR Sport, since it doesn't deliver on the fun and the other plug-in hybrids are actually more practical, there's not really a compelling reason that I can see to buy one of these unless you really like how it looks. And if that's the case, you do you, I guess. Thanks for watching.